The 26 cantons of Switzerland of the member states of the Swiss Confederation. There were 8 lieus during 1353 to 1481, and 13 lieus during 1513 to 1798. Each lieu canton was a fully sovereign state with its own border controls, army, and currency from the Treaty of Westphalia until the establishment of the Swiss federal state in 1848. From 1833, there were 25 cantons, which became 26 after the secession of the Canton of Jura from Bern in 1979. Terminology. The term canton, now also used as English term for administrative subdivisions of other countries, originates after 1490 as specific to Switzerland. It is derived from the French word canton, from a term meaning edge, corner, but used to refer to political territories. Historically, the cantons were referred to in German as Stadt or later Ort, but the word canton has also been in use since the 16th century, mainly in the Latin languages spoken regions. The cantons are traditionally also referred to as Stand, Etat, State or Stadi. This is still reflected in the name of the upper chamber of the Swiss Parliament, the Council of States, Republic. Some cantonal constitutions provide for a longer formal name of the state. Most of Romandy's cantons and Ticino call themselves republics, officially, at least within their constitutions. For example, the Canton of Geneva refers to itself formally as the République Canton de Genève. History. In the 16th century, the Old Swiss Confederacy was composed of 13 sovereign cantons, and there were 2 different kinds. 5 rural lieus, Uri, Schwyz, and Tawalden, Glarus, Appenzell, and 8 urban lieus, Zurich, Bern, Lausanne, Basel, Fribourg, Solothurn, Schaffhausen. Though they were technically part of the Holy Roman Empire, they had become de facto independent when the Swiss defeated Emperor Maximilian in 1499 in Dornach. In the early modern period, the individual lieus came to be seen as republics, while the 6 traditional lieus had a tradition of direct democracy in the form of the Landsgemeinde. The urban lieus operated via representation in city councils, de facto oligarchic systems dominated by families of the patriciate. The old system was abandoned with the formation of the Helvetic Republic following the French invasion of Switzerland in 1798. The cantons of the Helvetic Republic had merely the status of an administrative subdivision with no sovereignty. The Helvetic Republic collapsed within 5 years, and cantonal sovereignty was restored with the Act of Mediation of 1803. The status of Switzerland as a federation of states was restored, at the time including 19 cantons. 3 additional western cantons, Valais, Neuchâtel and Geneva, acceded in 1815. The process of restoration, completed by 1830, returned most of the former feudal rights to the cantonal patriciates, leading to rebellions among the rural population. The Radical Party embodied these democratic forces calling for a new federal constitution. This tension, paired with religious issues, escalated into armed conflict in the 1840s, with the brief Sonderbund War. The victory of the Radical Party resulted in the formation of Switzerland as a federal state in 1848. The cantons retained far-reaching sovereignty, but were no longer allowed to maintain individual standing armies or international relations, as the revolutions of 1848 in Western Europe had failed elsewhere. Switzerland during the later 19th century found itself as an isolated democratic republic, surrounded by the restored monarchies of France, Italy, Austria-Hungary and Germany. Constitution. Each canton has its own constitution, legislature, government and courts. Most of the cantons' legislatures are unicameral parliaments, the size varying between 58 and 200 seats. A few legislatures are general assemblies known as Landsgemeinden. The cantonal governments consist of either 5 or 7 members, depending on the canton. For the names of the institutions, see List of legislative and executive councils of the Cantons of Switzerland. The Swiss Federal Constitution declares the cantons to be sovereign to the extent that the sovereignty is not limited by federal law. The cantons also retain all powers and competencies not delegated to the Confederation by the Constitution. Most significantly, the cantons are responsible for health care, welfare, law enforcement and public education. They also retain the power of taxation. The cantonal constitutions determine the degree of autonomy accorded to the municipalities, which varies but almost always includes the power to levy taxes and pass municipal laws. The areas of the cantons vary from 37 square kilometers to 7,105 square kilometers. The populations vary from 15,471 to 1,244,400. Direct democracy. As on the federal level, all cantons provide for some forms of direct democracy. Citizens may demand a popular vote to amend the cantonal constitution or laws, or to veto laws or spending bills passed by the parliament. General popular assemblies are now limited to the cantons of Appenzell Innerrhoden and Glarus. In all other cantons, democratic rights are exercised by secret ballot. List. The cantons are listed in their order of precedence given in the Federal Constitution. This reflects the historical order of precedence of the 8 cantons in the 15th century, followed by the remaining cantons in the order of their historical accession to the Confederacy. The 2-letter abbreviations for Swiss cantons are widely used, e.g. on car license plates. They are also used in the ISO 3166-2 codes of Switzerland with the prefix ch. CHSZ, for example, is used for the Canton of Jura. Half-cantons. 6 of the 26 cantons are traditionally, but no longer officially, called half-cantons, reflecting a history of mutual association or partition. The half-cantons are identified in the first article of the Swiss Federal Constitution of 1999 by being joined to their other half with the conjunction and. The people and the cantons of Zurich, Bern, Lucerne, Uri, Schweiz, Obwalden and Nidwalden, Glarus-Zug, Fribourg, Solothurn, Basel-Stadt and Basel-Landschaft, Schaffhausen, Appenzell-Ausserrhoden and Appenzell-Innerrhoden, Street, Gallen, Graubünden, Aargau, Thurgau, Ticino, Vaud, Valais, Neuchâtel, Geneva and Jura form the Swiss Confederation. The 1999 constitutional revision retained this distinction on the request of the 6 cantonal governments, as a way to mark the historic association of the half-cantons to each other. In contrast, the first article of the 1848 and 1874 constitutions constituted the Confederation as the union of 22 sovereign cantons, referring to the half-cantons as Unterwalden, Basel and Appenzell, while the older constitutions referred to these states as half-cantons, a term that remains in popular use. The 1999 revision and official terminology since then use the appellation cantons with half of a cantonal vote, with the mutual association a purely historical matter. The half-cantons are since 1848 equal to the other cantons in all but 2 respects. They elect only 1 member of the Council of States instead of 2. In popular referendums about constitutional amendments, which require for adoption a national popular majority as well as the assent of a majority of the cantons, the result of the half-cantons' popular popular vote counts only one-half of that of the other cantons. This means that for purposes of a constitutional referendum, at least 12 out of a total of 23 cantonal popular votes must support the amendment. The reasons for the association between the three pairs of half-cantons have varied. Unterwalden never consisted of a single unified jurisdiction. Originally, Obwalden, Nidwalden, and the Abbey of Engelberg formed distinct communities. The collective term Unterwalden remains in use, however, for the area that partook in the creation of the original Swiss Confederation in 1291 with Uri and Schwyz. The Federal Charter of 1291 called for representatives from each of the three areas. The Canton of Appenzell divided itself into an inner and outer half as a consequence of the Reformation in Switzerland in 1597. Appenzell, Innerrhoden and Appenzell-Ausserrhoden. The Canton of Basel was divided in 1833 after the Basel countryside declared its independence from the city of Basel, following a period of protest and armed conflict about the underrepresentation of the more populous countryside in the canton's political system. In the 20th century, some Jurassic separatists suggested a new Canton of Jura to be divided into half-cantons of North Jura and South Jura. Instead, North Jura became the Canton of Jura while South Jura remains in the Canton of Bern as the region of Bernese Jura. Names in national languages. The name of each canton in its own official language is shown in bold. Admission of new cantons. The enlargement of Switzerland by way of the admission of new cantons ended in 1815. After a failed attempt of Vorarlberg to join Switzerland in 1919, the idea of resuming Swiss enlargement was revived in 2010 by a parliamentary motion that would allow the accession of regions bordering on Switzerland. Bibliography. Bernhard Ahrensler, Philipp Mastronardi, Rainer J. Schweizer, Klaus A. Wallander, Die Schweizerische Bundesverfassung, Kommentar, ISBN 3-905455-706, CS1 maint, multiple names, authors list. Cited as Ahrensler, Haffelen, Ulrich, Haller, Walter, Gunnar, Helen, Schweizerisches Bundesstaatsrecht, Zurich, Schulders, ISBN 9783725554720. Cited as Haffelen.